Saya dapat satu tawaran.
I received an offer to enter university to further my studies. So my teachers and friends tried to persuade me to just take the offer. Don't miss out on this golden opportunity.
మేము పరిచర్యకి వెళ్ళి వచ్చినప్పుడు
After we returned home from preaching or for meetings, women from our neighborhood used to come to our home and say things like, "Why are you doing this to your child? She is such a good girl and she studies so well. So why can't you send her to a good college?"
Hey everybody, I'm Jake. Welcome to Sunday service, and I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness, current low-key energy haver, and thank you for joining us. This is a live show. If you've never watched it before, me and a bunch of other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in the chat, or people who used to be in high control groups, or just are interested in this sort of thing, check in with our old cult Jehovah's Witnesses and see what kind of stuff they're up to. What kind of weird videos are they making? What are our parents and old friends being subjected to? So that's the dealio. And thank you for being here. We have people in chat hanging out. And if you haven't already, you might want to subscribe to the Sunday service feed. In the description, there's a link to that. This stream will probably go private after this stream. I'm trying to clean up the channel more, but I've kept the last few on the main channel because it was dealing with like the leaked convention videos, and I figured more people would probably want to see it. Today, I wanted to talk about something inspired by a Reddit post, actually, which I forgot to pull up. I should pull that up at some point so I can give credit where it's due. But I saw a post on Reddit this week about on the XJW Reddit, basically saying that this week's midweek meeting was really infuriating and had some really disturbing propaganda aimed at young ones within the group. So that's just for whatever reason, the group parlance for teenagers. My email, it's in the description of basically all my other videos, but it's exjwfaq@gmail.com. Young ones. Precisely. So I watched this video that people were talking about. Actually, let me just go ahead and share my screen. It is on their midweek meeting. The theme is take steps to avoid serious mistakes, and it seems to be aimed primarily at young Jehovah's Witnesses in the organization, and the big part on the second half of their meeting is called take steps to fix your mistakes, and it features this My Teen Life video. I talked probably on like the second or third video that I ever released on this channel when I was still physically in, mentally out, that one of the big reasons why I started waking up was seeing these propaganda videos aimed at young people in the organization and feeling like, oh, this is really manipulative. It was one of those things that once I started seeing it, I couldn't unsee it. But as a result, I avoided a lot of that stuff as a Jehovah's Witness because it was triggering for me. And after leaving, it's still super triggering for me. So I tend to not cover them a ton on the channel. The result of that, though, is that I really haven't seen any of the stuff that they've specifically made for young ones in the last like 4 years, aside from a few that were super popular in the XJW sphere. I also have seen hardly any Caleb and Sophia, but that's a story for another time. So I figured we would go through this video because it is really fucked up. That's your warning that I curse on the streams, by the way. Just a quick fuck, so you know that I'm going to say that. And then Yeah, they're really bad, but we're gonna intersperse it with fun stuff. It's not gonna be all triggering all the time. I do have a new edit that I'm gonna show off. I released an earlier version of it to members and patrons, and now I have an updated version of it, and I think it's really funny. I don't really know why I made it, and I don't know what to call it, how to, post it. All the edits I make, I have so much fun making them, but they always do terribly. Like nobody really watches them compared to the other things. So I figured I would get your input on like what should I call this thing, or should it just say between us pals? Should it not be a main video? So right, I think, I mean, real talk. I've become a cringe pothead type of person since leaving the organization. And there is something about being a little bit stoned and watching this stuff that you just see through it. You see through the matrix. Cringe. Cringe stoner, now referencing the Matrix. Oh, okay. So speaking of Malenfant, well, wait a minute. No. I thought that I was going to be referencing William Malenfant, but no, that's in the video that I've been editing that I'm going to release tomorrow. The main like normal video that's like a breakdown of a thing, and William Malenfant's in it. Requesting this as early as possible. Please do the Malenfant voice when you read the propaganda. So yes, we'll do that. We'll read some propaganda, and then as I've been pulling clips for other stuff I've been making, I've been having my members vote on what the next like supercut should be. I did one on the word notice, just because they always introduce a doctrinal point or a scripture by saying, notice what it says here. And I had noticed that they do that. So I made a supercut, and I really like making them. I put a bunch in the most recent breakdown I did of the Gilead graduation. And so I'm having members vote on what the next one should be because I have too many ideas for them. And the one that's in the lead right now is Anthony Morris saying, "See." He would end a lot of his sentences by going, "See." And it's really creepy. So I'm pulling all these Anthony Morris talks, went to avoidjw.org because I know several of them have been removed. And some of the stuff that's been removed was stuff aimed at young people, weirdly enough. So I thought if we're going to be forced to endure stuff, let's at least look at stuff that they deleted from the website. So we'll do a little bit of that too. Before we get into the main event, or should we just get into the main event and then palette cleanser with the silly edit later? Okay, yeah, let's do that actually. Okay. Where the hell is this tab that I'm sharing? There it is. All right, let's look at this stupid bullshit. So take steps to avoid serious mistakes. Do not be overconfident. All humans are inclined to do what is bad. Maintain a good spiritual routine and fight against unclean thoughts and desires. This shit really makes me upset. The fight against unclean thoughts. The idea that just thoughts in your brain need to be fought against, like they're this virus and you have to be this like very conscious immune system fighting them off at all times. That's enough to drive you crazy, or at least to be a weird Jehovah's Witness type person. Let's see what the reference is on this. Okay. Well, I did Malenfant earlier. Let's see. I want to, I think I'm just going to go British because it's been a minute since I've really dedicated myself to a British accent. I feel like I'm slipping in my skills. And I think it's time that I rectify that. So I was trying to make that dramatic, but the cringe continues. As Dan Olson said in his latest video, let he who is without cringe cast the first stone. An important way to show our complete reliance on Jehovah is by making our fight against unclean thoughts a matter of prayer. I don't know if I love that voice, but we're going for it. When we draw close to Jehovah in prayer, he draws close to us. He generously gives us his Holy Spirit, thus strengthening our resolve to resist immoral thoughts and remain chaste. I feel like it's really terrible. That's really not good. That's not a good British accent.
So let us make known our God,
Mary Poppins. No, okay. So let's make known to God our earnest wish to please him with the meditation of our heart. Do we humbly ask him to examine us in order to identify any harmful way, any improper desires or inclinations that could lead us into sin? Do we regularly petition him to help us maintain our integrity when we are faced with temptation? Yeah, okay. Whatever. But I want to get to this here. Sinful conduct may strongly appeal to our fallen flesh. Creepy phrase. But Jehovah can stir within us a willing spirit, the desire to obey him. Even if wrong desires are deeply rooted and tend to crowd out our chaste thoughts, Jehovah can guide our steps so that we can obey his commandments and succeed in living by them. He can prevent anything harmful from dominating us. This is a subtle bit of victim blaming. Well, I guess I don't know how subtle it is, but the idea that if you ever give in to your sinful desires, which for Jehovah's Witnesses is it goes a bit beyond the Ten Commandments, now featured in Alabama schools or wherever that happened. Like just any kind of recreational like drug use or just thinking sexual thoughts, which is pretty hard to avoid when you're a teenager in the bloom of youth, to use another creepy phrase of theirs. So just like if you ever do anything bad, it's your fault, because Jehovah can prevent anything harmful from dominating you. And that means that if you were dominated, if your fallen flesh was dominated by a desire to look at some saucy pictures on the internet, well, too bad. Too bad, mother flipper. Sorry. I'm like really winding up Family Guy Stewie. You know, the thing that I do that people call Family Guy Stewie is usually my attempt to just do a normal British accent, which just sounds like Stewie. Unclean thoughts is such an insidious idea to plant into people's minds and morals, says Jenny Bloom. We all have intrusive thoughts. We don't need to feel guilty over it. Yeah, exactly. And like I have ADHD, so intrusive thoughts are really, really bad. I'm getting them right now. I forgot to take my ADHD medicine this morning, and by the time I realized it was too late, I don't want to be up all night. So I kind of have sleepy, distracted energy, and that's just a little explanation of what's going on in my brain. Now, we have a picture, we have a visual aid, very pixely visual aid. They really didn't bother. There's no way that they couldn't render this at a higher quality. Like, that's not like when they put this together in Photoshop, it looked this terrible. So the unclean desire in this case is just, oh, I see. It is extramarital. Two people who are adults texting that, but they're married to other people. And then you read the Bible and you're like, huh? Metal Gear Solid alert sound. And that's how you pluck out that little root of horniness in your brain. I don't know. So that's that stupid thing. I don't know why we read that. Oh yeah, because it was part of the meeting. So that's the foundation that they're using for this entire meeting, is like, thoughts in your brain are dangerous. Now, how do we pronounce this guy's name? How do these verses describe the actions of Doeg, Doge, Doug, Daig? Wait, we should be able to have it read it for us, right?
Psalm 52.
No. Wait, I didn't even see the name Doeg in this verse. Where is it? Where's Doeg? Where's Doge? He's not even there. Why is it having us read this confusing verse? The action of Doeg. But then it doesn't even say the name in this verse. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Sound off in chat how we're supposed to pronounce that name. Oh my God. We had this super old sister. This is from Bethany. We had this super old sister in our congregation who always commented about watching pornography and never getting those images out of her mind. Well, it's true. They really scare us with that stuff at the meetings. It was like, once that stuff's in your brain, you can never get it out. Once those saucy pictures reach your brain, it's over for you. Picture on the right, he looks more confused than what the fuck anything. Yeah, I agree. I remember hearing so many talks that were like, I had to pray so hard, and still years after the fact, the images still haunt me in my brain. And at the time I was like, just images of like boobs and stuff, just like sexy images in your brain. Yeah, you're probably always going to have those in your brain to some degree every once in a while, but they make it seem like it's this metastatic brain cancer that just you remember porn that you watched once. Anyway, let's get to this video. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and we'll palate cleanse afterwards. But yeah, after I saw this, I too was raging like that person on Reddit. This is my teen life. How can I fix my mistakes? You get to yes. Oh.
I started to make a lot of friends at school, and aside from school, I began learning how to rollerblade. So whenever I'd go out to practice, I'd meet lots of different
She can do it backwards, so you know that she was really good at it, which I was never able to figure out how to skate backwards, by the way. And I went to many witness skating parties
because of bad associations. We started going out at night and maybe just drinking a little alcohol, but eventually we were drinking a lot. By the time I realized
what does that even mean? Maybe drinking a little alcohol, but eventually we were drinking a lot? That doesn't even make sense as a sentence. Not that I have any room to comment. Yeah, this is like the one scripture that they use. They stretch and twist it to mean just avoid any human being outside of the organization, because something they're doing is not living up to Jehovah's standards. If it was, they'd be a witness already.
what was happening, I was already really involved.
Oh, he's
I was
very
17
involved.
years old.
He was very involved with being a 17-year-old who occasionally drank too much.
Being close friends with them. They were everything to me, and I really trusted them.
Oh, hang on. I want to make sure I rewind that because I kind of talked over it. But this friend of ours here, she made a huge mistake. She made a huge, enormous mistake, which is that she made friends who weren't Jehovah's Witnesses.
I started being close friends with them. They were everything to me, and I really trusted them. They were doing some wrong things like drugs and using bad language. But I thought, I'm just with them. As long as I don't do what they're doing, it's not a problem.
It's a good question, actually. The Bible principle of if you walk on some coals, your feet are going to get hot. So if you hang out with people who use bad language, the horror, then it's going to burn your feet. That's what I'm getting from this. I was a witness who used bad language, but everybody thought I was good association. I mean, I wouldn't just use it willy-nilly in front of old sister so-and-so, but if I was driving or playing video games by myself, or with my worldly friends, I cursed.
I
do it to
began
this
to make
day.
excuses, saying that it didn't really matter and that there wasn't anything wrong with what I was doing.
That weird B-roll, like that stock image of just a guy going like is so strange.
Saying that it didn't really matter and that there wasn't anything wrong with what I was doing.
Why did
My
we need that?
spiritual routine was just going to the meetings.
I started missing some.
My spiritual routine was just going to the meetings. That's not enough. That's not enough. You can't just go to church. You have to always be thinking about church and doing work outside of church to further church stuff. You need to get rid of all of your friends who don't go to the same church. You need to do hard manual labor constantly for the church.
Some meetings.
I never prayed. I didn't even know how to do personal study.
I wasn't reading the Bible every day.
In this group of friends,
Didn't know how to do personal study. It's not complicated. You just read the stuff that you're always supposed to be reading anyway, but then you think, isn't this amazing? Doesn't this teach me amazing things about Jehovah? And that's it. That's personal study. I explained it.
Friends, there was a boy who liked me and asked me out. And since all my friends were dating, I thought, why not? So I started.
Idiot, foolish, moronic behavior. Since all my friends were dating, I thought that dating would be fine. But I forgot that my church organization makes it shameful and illegal and something that I can get punished for. So that meant that I had to lie about dating.
Started dating him, and my parents had no idea. I'd lie about where I was going, what I'd be doing, and who I'd be with. I was pretty much two completely different people. At home I was one way, and with my friends I was another.
Wow, powerful visual imagery there. Hey, whoa. I don't know if you meant to send quite so many of those super chats, but I certainly appreciate it. Usually if you do double, I don't know if it goes through, so hopefully it won't charge you a bunch of times, but thank you, B. Biddy. Thank you for hosting these awesome group therapy sessions. We appreciate you brining us together on Sundays to help us process our deconstruction. Any time. Well, mostly on Sundays, but generally speaking, I'm up for any time. You should do one of those funny edits, but from Bethel's point of view with XJW YouTubers clipped voice by Will Malignant. I definitely plan on doing one just of me, like making like my own awkward silent supercuts from these streams or something. It feels like it's only fair.
I tried to pray to Jehovah, but I just couldn't. I felt ashamed because I knew inside that Jehovah wasn't happy with what I was doing.
All this guy is doing is going out and drinking with his friends as a 17-year-old young man. So that's fine. That's not a shameful thing. That's something that most parents do. And like most kids do. And the reason why the girl from earlier felt the need to lie to her parents is because her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses who would freak out if they knew that she was dating someone. It becomes this vicious cycle where like when you demonize sex and drinking and everything, anything that can be construed as sinful, and you just shut it down and make it so like you're not even really allowed to think about it without praying to make the thought go away, it makes it 10 times worse. Whereas like most of my worldly friends that I had in school, like they didn't have to lie about dating because their parents knew about it, but they weren't like, none of my friends had any unwanted pregnancies or got scary STDs and stuff. Like that didn't happen, probably because their families were a bit more open and supportive and understanding that when you're like a kid, you're going to do certain things. And so be safe and have open lines of communication about it. Don't demonize the behavior and the normal thing that probably the parents were also doing back in their day. Like it just becomes this completely toxic cycle that people are wrapped up in.
My conscience really bothered me.
My conscience really bothered me.
There was a moment when my boyfriend and
this
some of
really
his
is
friends
bad association.
really let me down. I began thinking about how I didn't have anyone else.
What? Jehovah's Witness says my mom locked me in the bathroom with her and told me not to whore around until I cried. Lol. No, drop the lol. That unironically, that's so scary. It's so awful. Watching stuff like this, I think the reason why it's so upsetting, and it started to upset me. Oh, I'm so sorry. That really fucking sucks. But so that's why this stream is called like a different kind of child abuse within Jehovah's Witnesses, is because, and maybe we can talk about, if I remember, somebody remind me later, there's been like multiple arrests recently in these high profile CSA cases that have been happening, like in Washington and where was the other one? But there's been a couple arrests of like elders who were serial abusers within the organization. But I think it's worth remembering, like, not that the two are the same or whatever, but like this kind of emotional abuse it should also be unacceptable. I feel the same way about other evangelical Christian groups who make their children fear hell and have similar homophobic views on things. Like, this is equally damaging to what evangelicals do. And that's when you, even stripping away like the physical abuse that happens, like this level of emotional abuse is normal. This is a fun video with like quirky, clappy music at the beginning. And it's like, I once dated a boy and wanted to just jump in front of a moving train because I felt so guilty. And we all remember feeling that way. Like, that's not an acceptable way to make your child feel about doing normal things like wanting to date someone. So it always makes me reflect on how, as much as I love my parents, they obviously still perpetuated this thing of shame and internalized guilt. I told Christina recently this story that I remembered when writing the book that I'm working on. Been trying to mine a lot of my own childhood trauma, right? And I had kind of forgotten about this time when I was a teenager and like I was in the shower and I jerked off, like, but nobody was home, I thought. So I was taking a nice long shower. But during my shower, my dad came home from work like a little earlier than normal. And when I got out of the shower, he started like grilling me, like, what were you in the shower so long for? What were you doing in there? Oh, you were just showering? Okay. All right. And so I started just like internally timing my showers from there on out. It just totally freaked me out for for the rest of time. And basically until I no longer lived with my parents, I guess. So, okay, will do. Thank you, that woman Jezebel, by the way. Pennsylvania is the one that yes, and that's where the grand jury investigation is happening, is it not, Miss Usato? Who is a contributor, by the way, to Avoid JW, whose work was very useful this morning. I think we're going to watch something after this that was on Avoid JW, but was removed from the website.
One time, we were all drinking, and this girl invited us all to go to her house. I started thinking about what might happen if I said yes to that girl's invitation. I knew that there'd be drinking, drugs, and maybe even something immoral might happen.
So after having not...
Don't witnesses consider all of that immoral? I guess what he's saying is like, and also sex, but they don't want to have to make him say it. But am I the only one thinking that if one girl invites a bunch of guys over to her house, that probably either it's some real freaky stuff happening, or this guy he doesn't need to be too worried. Obviously, these worries are somewhat irrational. I guess it's probably unfair of me to put that on him.
Having not prayed for a really long time, I closed my eyes and said, Jehovah, please help me. I'm just so alone. I don't have anyone. I felt completely abandoned by everyone.
So right then and there, I said a prayer to Jehovah, asking him...
It is legitimately worth remembering that sometimes these stories are just made up. Like, we went over this, I think the last time that we talked about a My Teen Life thing, where it's like, your perception in your head as a witness is that everything is this major temptation from Satan. You've seen the pictures where Satan's got the puppet strings, and so you immediately you envision yourself vaginally doing things, and it's like you paint yourself as, is it Joseph who ran away from Potiphar's wife, that slut who wanted to have sex with him, and he had to like freak out and make a whole thing about it instead of just getting down and being cool. No. But yeah, you just cast yourself as a biblical character in your head, and so everything has this cosmic weight to it, when it could have just been somebody being like, hey, come over and hang out at my house. We'll just, like, how does he know that they weren't just going and playing Mario Kart over at that girl's house? And even like the worst case scenario that he's imagining wouldn't even be that bad, probably. Like, it wouldn't be that bad. One thing I had a really hard time reconciling as a kid was the fact that you would hear these stories, but they never came true for anybody else. Like, objectively, I knew that some people got into trouble, and like I guess I knew like one or two people in school that did get like on hardcore drugs. Somebody that that was in my graduating class died of like a heroin overdose a couple years after we graduated. So like real shit does happen for sure. But I lost my comment. I lost my comment. I just completely forgot what I was saying. I wanted to catch up on chat though. Yeah. Sorry for my traumatic stories. I wasn't even allowed to, Queen of Flatulence says, I wasn't even allowed to take long showers. My stepfather would scream at me for wasting water. My half-brother, oh my God, what is going on with my pronunciation? Ironically, the video I'm editing is on the Theocratic Ministry School. So this is extra embarrassing for me. I'm really not applying the skills I learned in the greatest divine education on the planet. My brother would even snitch on me for taking too long showers when my parents went out of town. That's such bullshit. Oh, I guess the moral of the story is that a lot of these stories are completely in the person's head and not real. Is that what I was saying? I'm always so annoyed when I hear stories about like how there were all these JW swingers. I was like, why did nobody ever tell me about that? I guess there's probably a lot of reasons for that. They were springs wound too tight. Oh yeah, I feel completely abandoned by everyone. This is exactly how they wanted us to feel. Textbook abusive relationship. There is no one and nothing outside of this. And yeah, that's what they do, is like they make sure that they paint the world as evil and tell you that the world's, it's always going to abandon you and pull you out of it's going to pull you out of the truth and then chew you up and spit you out. Satan's always chewing on folks and spitting them like tobacco. I'm sorry. Wacky tobacco. I don't know. I got distracted. This is your brain not on drug. This is your brain when you have ADHD and you don't take your brain medicine. Oh yeah, the thing about being abandoned, they make the world so scary. And so the first time something bad happens to you, you're like, oh, I knew it would happen. The organization was right. A bad thing did happen. It's like, well, bad things happen to you inside Jehovah's organization all the time. But when that stuff happens, you spin it as a temptation from Satan to get you out. Anyway, I guess the other thing, just to finish, this is a segment called Finishing My Earlier ADHD Tangents. The new segment we're going to start doing. I think this is going to come in handy. Like the fucking, I couldn't reconcile as a kid the fact that these scary stories never happened to my worldly friends. Like, why does it always only happen to Jehovah's Witnesses that these horrible, scary, cosmically bad things happen? And why don't they feel this level of guilt and shame about it? The answer, I guess, is because they don't know about Jehovah, but doesn't that mean that knowing about Jehovah doesn't actually make you happier? It just makes you more afraid of pissing him off, and more immediately just your parents who are Jehovah's Witnesses?
So right then and there, I said
Sorry, that was a long tangent.
So alone. I don't have anyone. I felt completely abandoned by everyone.
So right then and there, I said a prayer to Jehovah, asking him that if he would help me to say no, from that day forward I would stop associating with those friends and serve him whole-souled.
Many times I asked Jehovah to forgive me. I said, Jehovah, you're the only one I have. Please help me. And that's exactly what happened.
After saying that prayer, I felt determined to leave. I started thinking about everything that I'd done and how I was putting not only my own life at risk, but also my relationship with Jehovah.
I thought, I'm going to talk to the elders.
Since I'm a very shy person,
always a wrong
the thought of
thought. Speaking of wrong thoughts, you should never think, I should talk to the elders about this. That'll fix everything.
seeing my mistakes was really difficult.
I talked to them and I told them everything that happened.
Nothing happened. Nothing even happened. A vague disappointment happened. A situation occurred. Which, wouldn't the specific thing that she's avoiding talking about be way more encouraging and helpful to kids in the organization? But they don't. They always give the same generic experiences that are somewhat interchangeable, where like somebody at school had interest in me and all I wanted to date him and all my friends were pressuring me. We'll watch one of those later. It's always the same kinds of stories, and they always skip past the specifics. Probably because the specifics would reveal that this isn't a super clear-cut story.
It was like a weight had been lifted off me. I saw that I really wasn't alone after all. I still remember a scripture that they read to me at Psalm 86:5, which showed me that Jehovah's forgiveness has no limits if I'm truly repentant. So I knew that Jehovah would forgive me, but the elders also told me that I'd have to tell my parents, which was very difficult. But I thought, well, I need to speak up. And I just opened up and told them about what happened.
Yeah, speak up. Speak up about normal random things. Now, if you ever speak up about the actual abuse that we do in the organization, then we will shun you, actually.
I decided that I was going to talk with an elder, and he read a scripture with me from Philippians 4:7, which says that the peace of God.
Great point by Miss Usato. This extreme pressure to have young ones go to the elders for something you thought up. That's really true. It's like grooming them and conditioning them to go to the elders and and just confess all the stuff, because there isn't any Holy Spirit involved in the process. You just have to get caught like the way people normally get caught, or rat yourself out. And that's the one that's way more convenient for them. I wanted to shout out a couple comments while we're all trauma dumping here. Clyde Bell says, I fell asleep once, actually twice, with gay porn playing. My mom came in to turn off the TV. You're on your TV? That was brazen conduct, Clyde. The next morning, there were watchtowers open to homosexual articles all over the house. That's so ridiculous. Good God. I remember not too long after that weird shower incident, my dad came in and was clearly just trying to goad me into confessing stuff like that I was, I don't know, looking at porn or masturbating or something. And he told me like an overly personal story about a mistake he made once. It was apropos of nothing. I just got this random trauma dump. I got this random episode of my teen life from my dad. And the purpose of it was clearly to try and like get me to confess that I was up to something. It's so fucked up that parents do that. Sherry Flynn says, my parents were into wife swapping when I was little. From what I remember, that was when our family was the happiest. It's incredible that you were conscious of it enough to be like, I remember the wife swapping and that they were happier. I mean, yeah, if you're like really into swapping and then you can't swap anymore, that seems like that would be tough. It seems like that would be tough for a witness couple. I always wonder how witnesses justify that in their own brain. That's a whole other line of questioning for another time. All right, let's speed through the rest of this bullshit. We're almost
God that
done.
surpasses all understanding will guard our hearts. So I was able to pray again, knowing that if I really changed, I could feel that peace that comes from Jehovah.
I started studying the Bible for real.
I stopped associating with those friends and started being more involved in spiritual things.
I made real friends, ones who would affirm that Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth and that I'm right to feel shame over doing normal things. Also, what does it mean to study the Bible for real? It just means like doing the amount of indoctrination that you're supposed to as a witness. Like, because before her spiritual routine was just going to the meetings, but really studying the Bible means that you're just constantly consuming Watchtower literature on a daily basis, and not just a daily basis, but like many times throughout the daily basis.
I had the privilege of getting baptized and becoming a regular pioneer, and today I'm serving in Bethel.
I had the privilege of being invited to help with construction projects, but my greatest privilege is the strong friendship that I have with Jehovah, and also having true friends.
I've seen that Jehovah has always been by my side, and even when I didn't want to be with him, Jehovah never abandoned me.
Prove it. Fucking prove it. How do you know? How do you know that he was ever even there? It's so annoying the whole idea of like Jehovah abandoning you. Oh wow, why am I like so bright? I don't need quite so much light on my face, do I? I'm like, it was extra shiny. Holy shit. So sorry about that. I had the privilege of having childhood religious trauma. The narrative that they put in your head that like you cannot abandon Jehovah because Jehovah will never abandon you. You're never just given the option. They never even suggested it's a possibility that you would question the existence of God. I think that was tough for me as somebody who did have a lot of like doubts about the logic of the Bible and stuff as a witness. It's just never even addressed that you can just have a lack of faith that God even exists. It's always like, oh, well, God, obviously I know Jehovah exists for sure 100%, but he must have abandoned me once I started dating someone my age, like all my friends were doing, and nothing bad even happened. I just felt guilty because my parents were mad at me. Pfft, whatever. That's my capper on that. Like, pfft, lame. Hey, what name? Thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm now 30. I still often dwell on what my life could have been if the JWs didn't have influence over my life since birth. Yeah, I try not to dwell on that too much because I do understand. I think it's something that probably everybody here feels sometimes. Like it's impossible not to wonder what if. But I do think that once you reach a place, or I don't know, what's the right way to say it? Like I've been trying to be way more appreciative of the fact that I really like a lot of, I love my life now. I love my wife and I love our life that we have. And that wouldn't have happened without this stupid journey that I had to go on. And, yeah, there's no like, I was trying to find some pat answer that would sound smart and pithy, but I couldn't. Hey, thanks. Shout out to Feisty Lou for becoming a member. I've got a bunch of member exclusive stuff on there. If you like my shit, if you like me talking about stuff. Okay, so I think we saw that. We saw the extent of that we need to see. Actually, we probably didn't need to see the extent that we did see. Okay, so we need a palate cleanser after that. That was really awful. I'm going to share with you, what am I going to do here? Okay, so this is actually like, this video is like 5 minutes long, but I made an edit that I think is really funny. I'll set it up and then play it to give us a Mimi palate cleanser. Hi, my name is Mimi Palate Cleanser, and I'm here to talk to you about YouTube poops. I'm just killing time because I can't find it. Okay. So this is an updated version. Okay. Hey, get out of here. All right. Is good at this? I don't know. I think this stream is maybe evidence that I'm not good at it at all, unless I like have the exact right amount of medicine and coffee in the morning. Boy, I can't get the light balance right. It's because of the way my screen is set up. I need to set it up so it's directly behind the screen. All right. Also, I think like if people are still talking about like wish that things could have been different. I don't know, man. Having a cool, interesting backstory, not everybody has that. And I think like living an interesting life and learning a lot and experiencing a lot of weird shits, both good and bad, that's what it's all about. Like you're going to have bad times anyway. Maybe we just got the worst shit over with all in a row earlier on. And however much time we have left after, it's going to be better because it's not going to be in the group, right? Okay, my camera looks really crappy. Probably part of it's the light. I have no idea. Okay, so I made this edit, and the idea is, so I've really been interested in just how bad witness talks are. I think that comes through on the channel. Like my early fixations in the channel, like in zooming in on their weird gestures and looping just dumb little things that they say, is because it's just something that I always had this subconscious feeling about as a witness, but could never talk about it openly. Like, I just always thought so many of the talks were really bad. And I would sit there at the convention being distracted by a weird way that they said a word and the way that they all tried to talk with the exact same intonation. Jehovah, our God, wants you to like and, notice, subscribe. Like that kind of shit. Like I would notice that. And so I know I just said notice. So that's kind of just been a thing on the channel that I've always been interested in. But doing all of these supercuts and edits, you just can't help but see all of the creepiness. And especially a few weeks ago when we watched the creepiest baptism talk ever, I felt like I need to get to the bottom of what the hell is happening with why does everybody talk like this, at least in the English speaking world. I don't have a lot of perspective on whether talks in other languages have the same kind of unnaturalness that the English speaking talks have. So if you are like, if you're a native speaker in another language, or at least fluent, sound off in chat and give me your perspective on the kind of like JW accent outside of English speaking territories. But anyway, I just kind of made this as like a real life tangent while I was editing. I was kind of working on an awkward silent supercut, and I decided to just do something that I wanted to do for a while, which was to take a really long talk. And this one I think is like a 30-minute talk, but shrink it down to 5 minutes of just all of the awful bits, like just to reveal how repetitive and crappy the talks are. So I was thinking of calling it like a JW Talk Simplified Edition. But anyway, I'll let you watch this and see what you make of it. I'll be back.
It is a pleasure. It is indeed. But I'm sure you would agree can't you see why and then we go to, in the following video, the good news. Good news, good news. Bad news has been around so long. Good news. Some history books tells us, some history books will tell us, as the history books tell us, news, be privy to the evening news, newspaper, and have the local news, and have world news. So in dispensing news, the good news. 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 The good news was definitely worth declaring. Declare the good news. Good news. Good news.
There's violence. And there's death that individuals have to contend with.
Well, what is this good news that we've been talking about for just a few minutes?
Good news regard to the good news. And as the good news, and let's read of the description that this good news, the good news. Good news, the one bringing good news, words such as the good news of peace, peace, series, hearts, Jesus Christ, precious, the feet.
The good news.
Is this not good news? Good news. The good news. The good news. Good news. The good news. The good news. The. We invite you, please, to take out your programs. Now, if you look at the program, as you see in your program, you see right there in your program. At this point, we invite you again to take out your program and let's review the program together of our convention. Good news, and that was indeed good news. The good news.
The good news.
Good news. is worth declaring. Let's move on.
The good news.
And this good news, as we mentioned, is the good news. Look at the good news, good news, good news.
Now, at this point, we must just take a moment to talk about
The good news, the good news. Good news in what sense? Which will be described in the scope, the importance, and the impact of the message that we preach to others when it comes to declaring the good news.
We have a power-packed day today, don't we?
Wonderful day of declaring the good news information. Let's move on. The good news, be submissive to the good news. Good news to defeat bad news. Now, moving on, we see the good news wherever we are. What will you do for the sake of the good news?
You can become effective ministers in preaching the good news.
So once again, another power-packed day in the good news. In this particular symposium, we will learn how we can imitate 7 servants of God who were portrayed in episode 1 of the good news.
Bad news.
Now we move on to the good news. Well, what do you think? Are you ready? Are you excited to hear about the good news? Well, we say strap in. You're in for a wonderful ride over the next 3 days. As you'll be able to see there. And isn't that how you feel? The good news, the importance of the good news as much as possible. We like to just make this one note about the good news. Now, we invite you to sit back and enjoy part 1 of episode 1 of the good news.
Good news for people who love bad news.
I'm sorry. So I really don't know why I made that. I don't know. So a few things. Actually, I'll put this back up because my face looks so big. No, don't play it again. Oh, hi, Bo. Bo's gonna be rambunctious in the background. Okay, so some things to. So I am sorry. I don't know why I made that. I don't know what my problem is. There might be some neurodivergence involved. I don't know how I feel about self-diagnosing on TikTok, but if I was in favor of it, I would think that I had some things. Okay, so to answer some questions, yes, this was all from the same talk. This is the chairman's address at the beginning of the convention, and the good news is the theme of the convention, basically. So he does say it a lot just by sheer happenstance. I saw somebody say that it was isolating the actual brainwashing part of the talk. Yes, so that's kind of why I was enjoying making it. Is it just felt like the cumulative effect of all those, just all of the times he says it together, were really crazy. It really felt like, okay, this is why these talks have a little hypnotizing nature to them. I mean that in the colloquial sense. I don't know that I believe in hypnosis as a real thing, but anyway, okay, so I played the piano for that one part where it sounds like he's singing. He's like, wherever we are. And so just every time I heard it, I was like, it'd be really funny if I put the piano to this, but that sounds like a lot of work. But it wasn't at all. And I thought it was funny. Yeah, so the first question is this something that I should put on the channel? I don't know. I'm probably going to release it after the video I release tomorrow, because all these edits are tanking the viewership numbers, but I can't help it. I make them. And what am I going to do? Not post them on the channel? That would make it even weirder if I just made them and kept them to myself. Okay, good. So I don't know what to call it, though. My thought was JW Talks Simplified Edition. Akko Taco is a thing I've been thinking about, TALKO. but it needs to have something kind of punchy so that people at least have some idea of what it is. And I don't know what to call it to in any way increase the chances that anybody watched it. So that's all on my mind. But thank you for watching that. Residual good news. I know. I've now just by sheer happenstance heard that phrase used in normal terms on like the shows we're watching. Every time for some reason my favorite clip of it is just him saying like, and be privy to the evening news. Just be privy to the evening news is such a funny phrase. And it sounded weird in the full context of why he said it. Yeah. I probably should. Maybe I'll do it. I have tomorrow and Tuesday off of work to kind of try and catch up on some other work. So it's not really a day off, but I really should revive my JW Poops channel because I've got a ton at this point. The program. We invite you please to take out your program. Oh, okay. So I know what I wanted to ask. And if you're a member and you watched this earlier, let me know, like, so I uploaded a version that didn't have the counter on it. And then there was a comment. Well, first of all, when I was showing it to Christina, she was like, you should have a counter. And I was like, I was thinking about that. And then somebody in the comments was like, wait, did he really say it all these different times? And so I wanted to put the counter because I feel like it might, people just might think that I'm making him say it 70 times, even though he really does say it that many times. But then I kind of thought, watching it back, like the counter is almost distracting. Like you're almost just watching the counter the whole time. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like some more news, the channel on YouTube. Okay. Okay, I don't know what that means, John. Expound on that. Speak on that. All right, let's now watch a different thing that's less fun. But this would also be advice for young ones. Counter's good. People are saying the counter is good. All right. Of these talks that I downloaded, let's see. So this one I've actually been curious about for a little bit. I believe, let me just scroll forward a little bit. Yeah, okay. So this was removed from jw.org. I got this courtesy of avoidjw.org. I will link in the description. Dear God. Yeah, I'll try and put the links in the description to where I found this video. I noticed like a year or two ago, I actually have no concept of what time is anymore at all after COVID. Just absolutely no idea. So I don't remember what it was. But there was a series of talks that was coming out when I was a witness. I'm pretty sure that I was single at the time. And it was like a three-part series that they did on 3 different broadcasts. And it was, am I ready to date? What's dating like? And then marriage, I guess. And I realized like a year or so ago that the part 2 of it was missing, like part 1 and part 3 on there, but part 2 is gone. And usually when videos are removed, the assumption, and I think it's a reasonable assumption, but I don't know that we know it for sure. Maybe Ms. Usato, if they're here, can confirm or deny this, but I think we typically assume that the video was removed because the person is no longer in good standing. Like the actor portraying the JW, or like if it's an interview, if the person gets disfellowshipped or kicked out of Bethel or publicly, it's kind of like well known. The assumption is like that's why it's no longer on the website, but I don't know if that's true. So we'll see. Hello from Ireland, everybody. Jehovah blessing and peace on you all. Thanks for the information. My head is spinning. Well, hey, Rory. Thanks for hanging out. Witnesses are welcome. just be nice. Yeah, I'm an ex Jehovah's Witness. Ooh, is it puppy time? We have a special guest. A special guest. Do we have two or just one special guest?
I guess I can.
You can say hi, hello. Hi.
Sorry, I look ridiculous.
No, you do not. You look normal. And Peach does too. Look, that's what a normal dog looks like right there.
A normal dog who doesn't want to be in front of the camera.
Really hates it. Really hates being in front of the camera. It's really weird. But you know, like when you were in here earlier, she was fine. It's like she knows when the camera is rolling, which is really crazy.
Yeah, she's weird.
Yes. So this is our little baby.
The little baby.
Are you gonna take her?
Yeah, I didn't know if you were.
Oh, I just wasn't sure. I was like, for me, Peaches, all to myself.
I mean, you can have her.
Yeah, she seemed like she was really not feeling it. Yeah, she's like, get me away from this place. Take this cup away from me, Lord. Oh, you know what I need to make? I need to make a Peach corner bumper. Queen of Flatulence says, you look lovely as usual.
Oh, Peach appreciates that.
Peach? Not you?
Oh, I thought that they were talking about Peach.
No, you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for the cameo.
Absolutely.
And the puppyo.
Oh, it's me, a puppyo.
Yeah, sorry. Boy, I'm really not operating on, like, full gears. See? Like, what did that even mean? That wasn't a real statement. Okay, so I think this is the deleted part 2. And it is, like, in my opinion, it's kind of wrapped up in the dating thing that we were kind of alluding to in that first My Teen Life video, like weird rules about dating and shame and such. Alt P. Oh yeah, that's good. He's asleep. He's like knocked out. I'm about to say, like, how self-depreciating. We're like, oh, you meant the dog, right?
Meeting Jimin was completely unexpected. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend, but as we talked, everything just clicked. The only problem is the distance.
Oh, spot the white guy. I missed the white guy. This does sound like an item shop in a Mario game or something right now.
I flew out to see her once.
Oh, so this guy we're saying was the deleted person?
But most of the time, all we can do is communicate online. How can I be sure she's the one?
I assumed it was like
I
a mountain.
decided the best decision
was an entire
was to
mountain
ask
range
my
in the way.
father.
I didn't even
He
realize
knew
it
the
was ahead.
relationship was becoming more serious, and he appreciated my concerns. He said, the same things are important, whether the person is next door or a world away. Most people simply focus on appearance or social standing. But for a truly successful relationship, what matters is spirituality.
Ah, yes. These silly things like love and passion and connection and chemistry, those are not nearly as important as believing in the same team, just going to the same church and believing in the same guy.
Now, I had already talked with Jimin's elders.
I think we talked about it in our videos about dating, but we did actually, Christina and I, maybe that's why things have worked out, is like we did actually spend a lot of time by ourselves without a chaperone. But still, like, all things considered, being pretty chaste by JW standards. So I think it's just a rule that everybody breaks, and therefore everybody feels shame about. And presumably the people who don't break it are the ones whose marriages are probably a little weaker. Oh, hey, buddy. Are you waking up? People wanted to say hi to you. They don't know how much of a fucking asshole you are on a day-to-day basis. I promise he deserved that mean comment.
And they said she was a wonderful pioneer.
Christina just yelled, they don't have
God
to live
said
with
that's
him every
good.
day.
But it takes more than that. It takes time to get to know the secret person of the heart.
처음부터 낭만적인 감정에 빠져선 안 돼. 서로의 장점을 이끌어낼 수 있는
Wow, he's watching the dub of the True Love video.
먼저 알아봐야지.
But how do you get to know the secret person of the heart? He said,
Wow, that is so true. Maria, excellent post here. You know to see, sorry, you need to see what that person is like when the mask comes off and they're super pissed at you, and that doesn't happen around a chaperone. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, you have to know what it's like to fight, to not get along, to hurt each other's feelings, and you just simply don't have that kind of dynamic if you're being monitored by other people. Great point.
first, pray. Ask Jehovah to help you see Jimin as she truly is.
Yeah, I think I learned in school basically like through context clues eventually, but when I first heard that term, I was literally imagining like petting like a dog. I was like, what? Why would anybody do that to each other? It's not an intuitive term in my opinion.
Both her good qualities and ones that may need improvement.
Oh, her
Also,
qualities need
when you're able to-
improvement. That's a fucking asshole way to look at the love of your life and future spouse. Like, well, some of her qualities could use a little improvement. I can honestly say I don't think that I had that feeling about Christina. Hey, Christina, can I ask you a question? Okay. Did when we were dating and stuff, did you feel that there were any of my qualities that needed improvement?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, interesting. I was just interesting. We're watching this video that was deleted from jw.org. That's like the second part in their series on like, are you ready to date yet? What, or are you ready to get married? And this was deleted. And so this guy's saying about the person he's dating, like, well, some of her qualities could use work. And I'm like, I don't remember feeling that way at all.
I've never felt that way about you. I think that we're all flawed.
Yeah.
So to try and work on flaws that are outside of our control,
You kind of have to like,
it's fruitless.
you kind of can't see it as like, well, they do have this huge problem that I think they need to fix, but
So it's not like you had a drinking problem or a drug problem or something, and I was like, oh, he needs his attributes need fixing.
yeah, I was thinking more of like spiritual qualities,
No,
even, but not even that. Yeah, so I was perfect. I just wanted to like get my wife to say like, so I was awesome and perfect and didn't have any flaws. Okay, cool. No,
You had flaws just like I have flaws.
it's true.
I chose not to focus on them because
Same.
it makes you flaws and everything in between.
Apes together strong.
Got you.
We love the apes together strong hand gesture in this house. Yes, we haven't seen the new one. Okay, that's really not important to this video.
To visit, observe her actions. How does she treat her friends? Her parents? Ones in the congregation? That's a good indication of how she'll treat you.
Oh no, I hadn't even considered doing a ones supercut.
Those kinds of things in videos set people up for having unrealistic expectations of their partner, which then creates a toxic, unhealthy, like dating, eventual marital situation.
That's true, because you're both supposed to be striving for this like spiritual peak of like, well, if I was more spiritual, I wouldn't be like this, or they wouldn't be like that.
Exactly.
And it's why like certain just like normal marital disagreements get framed as like, this is a spiritual quality that you are lacking, instead of like, you guys just don't communicate well or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
We're cracking the code here on today's Sunday service. Turns out it is going to be a good stream after all.
Someday. But it's not just about her. He had me read Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husbands, continue loving your wives, just as the Christ.
there is one. I don't know if it's part 1 of this or the next part that is from a sister's perspective, and she basically realizes like this guy I'm dating is not spiritual enough. I need to break off this wedding. And it kind of goes to what Chris was just talking about, which is like there's no like you're holding each other to this standard of how is this person going to advance my spiritual career almost like that's what you're supposed to be looking for is like a business partner in Watchtower Industries.
Also loved the congregation and gave himself up for it. He asked,
Jenny,
"Are you ready
I'm
to
so
be
sorry.
that kind of husband?" He thought I was, but that the only person that truly knows is me.
That face.
We've
What's
been
the
able
lesson
to
of this?
save up and make a number of visits since then, taking the
She does look absurdly young, right? People, I was confused in chat as to what people were talking about earlier. Now I think I know what you mean. She looks like a
time
child.
to discover what we both are spiritually.
This is love. This is the up sequence of love in Witnesses, is you just admiring your prospective mate out in service and how they preach and give talks at the meeting. Yeah, that's dating, all right. That's what it's like. It'd be tough for me to live in a culture where you have to bow a lot just because my lower back is so bad. Oh God, that is so sad. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Jenny says, and I married him thinking that if anyone found out about those moments, I'd be in big trouble. You know, my parents, well, no, I shouldn't tell this story. I've known of people who did like they messed up or messed around during their courtship, and then they carry this guilt with them for years and years, and it eats away at their marriage. Like that's just so crazy. Oh, Bethany says, I got engaged to my then JW boyfriend at 17. He was 21 because the elders said we were being risky waiting till I was older to get engaged and married. Oh my God. I broke up with him a few months later. Thank God. I had this, that's just so awful. Like I'm glad that we included this in the like the subheading of kind of an unspoken kind of abuse that happens in the organization, because this grooming of like young women into marriage with much older men is so prevalent. It happens so often. It happens all the time where it's not abnormal for somebody like my age, like in their 30s, to be looking at like teenage girls in their congregation and like waiting until they're old enough to start dating. Like that's like creepy. It happens. I've known people, like I knew someone she was 17 and the guy was like in his mid to late 30s. And yes, he was very handsome, and yes, she was very pretty, but that's absurdly fucked up, right? Yes, Christina said it creates an environment for child sex abuse, and it absolutely is. And then you have to consider the fact that within Jehovah's Witnesses, marital rape is not considered to be even like a disfellowshipping offense or anything. Like this is a bad system of things. No, you, Watchtower, you did the bad system of things. But it is like, it just fosters this environment where everybody is very naive and nobody is taught anything about consent. And the definition of what a normal relationship is like is not healthy. I mean, I would say that most of the really healthy marriages that I would feel comfortable saying that they're healthy marriages that I know of within the organization, they're not super duper uber spiritual people. They're like kind of low key, maybe the woman pioneers sometimes, and maybe the guy's a servant, but they're like a little too real to be fully bought into everything. I don't think that's an accident. My God.
저랑 결혼해 주실래요?
Oh.
좋아요.
Okay, I'm gonna get back to that comment, not that one.
And while we know we're not perfect, if we keep our focus on Jehovah, we can be perfect.
We're
for
not
each other.
perfect. You can dismiss a lot with, well, they're not perfect. Wild. Well, that video absolutely sucked. All right, what else we got? What else we got? There is another one. Oh yeah, the one from the intro. We have to at least watch that, right? Sorry for the close up on my noggin. Okay, well, now I think I'm just gonna have to look. Oh wait. Sorry, I'm just looking through my video files. I think it is this one. No. Oh, but this is a good one. So I think I downloaded this because Avoid JW said it was removed from the website, which is pretty wild. And I think I showed this in a dumb edit that I made one time. But yeah, this is about peer pressure and stuff.
My classmates and teachers always respected me, but this year things were different. My class was organizing a Christmas party. I was asked to help, but I refused. My classmates and even my teacher made fun of me.
And like, are you sure? Are you sure that that's what happened? How does he? I like, my perception as a witness was not always 100% accurate in terms of what people's, like, is this person persecuting me, or are they just saying that they don't believe in my religion? You kind of view any negative response or anything less than an incredibly positive response as persecution or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe his teacher made fun of him. Maybe it was just in his head, though.
I went to see the principal because I thought he would understand me, but unfortunately he didn't.
This just doesn't seem like a real
I'd been
story.
treated unfairly. After the conversation, I went home and immediately started to pray. I felt like the most important thing I could do was to uphold Jehovah's reputation. For personal study,
Shulamite Faden says this couple is the couple's career in this video is very interesting from an Asian perspective. Within parts of Asia and the Jehovah's Witness culture, couples usually don't disclose that they are dating or an item to anyone. That is so interesting. I did not know that. They keep it a secret until they're engaged. Okay. Hey, Mariah. Hey, sorry I'm late. I was having lunch with my JW parents and visiting JW aunt, and it was all weirdly normal, like normal family time. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I always feel like things don't have to be weird, you know, if as long as they aren't trying to shove Jehovah down anyone's throats and I'm not going middle school Reddit atheist on them, then I'm sure we would have a good time. I'm glad that happened.
was to uphold Jehovah's reputation.
Reputation.
For personal study, I considered the young
His
People's
reputation.
Gospel, chapter 20. How can I get along with my teacher? It contained Matthew 7:12, which says that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. And that...
What? How can I get along with my teacher? You know, now people would just like Google it and then put Reddit at the end, like how to get along with my teacher, Reddit. And then you would just find that, or like Quora. I feel like the Young People Ask book is not super necessary for anything other than Jehovah's Witness specific stuff, because everybody's just going to Google what to do and get advice from, you know, a wide swath of young ones who aren't all Jehovah's Witnesses.
Was just what I needed. It showed how important it was to respect people, even if they're not nice to you.
Well said.
So, I decided to explain my position.
Their persecution fetish is so bizarre. It feels like they know there's no great tribulation coming and can't handle it, so they make it up so it feels real. That's so insightful. I think you're totally right. I would expect nothing less than someone who has a man avatar from Arkham Asylum. No, I think that's totally true. You have to make the persecution real in your head. You have to see yourself in a world that is fake.
Into the class. I raised my hand and asked whether I could explain my position.
Right.
My teacher surprisingly agreed.
Like if this kid was talking to his teacher like that, like, I'm sorry, governor teacher, I just can't celebrate Christmas because Jesus didn't really die on that day. The one as big as me. I don't know. A Christmas Story.
One classmate raised his hand, and after I answered his question,
I talk to everybody like they're in
one,
preschool, and
so
for some reason they make fun of me and aren't nice.
Others entered the classroom. Students, teachers, and even the principal came in and sat down.
Yeah, sure.
Afterwards, the principal had me come to his office. I was really scared. I thought I was in trouble. And finally he stood up, shook my hand, and apologized. I was walking home with this big smile.
I'm really sorry. We didn't realize that you were clearly in a high control group that is brainwashing you into being the weird way that you are. We just thought you were kind of stuck up. Now we feel very bad for you and your whole situation. We brought in some of the other teachers so that we could report this. That's like a more secular interpretation of this story, perhaps. Like maybe they weren't amazed by the majestic words of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and perhaps not everyone clapped for real. The whole school gathered round so I could explain why Christmas is made up and they shouldn't do it. And I'm right and their whole religion's wrong.
I met a classmate who had so many questions. I answered them.
I'll bet.
And before I knew it, I was able to start a Bible study with him at school. Through prayer and personal study, I developed the courage to uphold Jehovah's name.
Wow, okay. That was pretty wild. So one of those kids or something must have been DF'd, and that's why they removed that from the website, I guess. All right. Next video. We're spoiled for choice. God dang it, where is that freaking thing? Here it is. Wait, no, no. Oh, this is one, but that's not the one I wanted to show. I can't find the one that I used for my intro clip for some reason. But literally, why can't I find it? It doesn't make any sense. Also, sorry, it just like, okay, that is it. It just like starts playing it. The second that it uploads, it just starts playing. Okay, yeah, this one's really annoying. This one's all about avoiding higher education, which is another part of this abusive culture where you are not only kept in this silo of information and experience, but then you're not allowed to educate yourself. Like you are limiting your education to materials that the group provides. I guess it's like going to one of those schools where they have PragerU as the curriculum and the 10 Commandments on the walls, but way worse because nobody reports on this story, so nobody cares. That deleted video must be old because all the kids in the video studying now are always extremely goth or all. No, that's true.
Saya dapat satu tawaran.
I received an offer to enter university to further my
I also
studies.
have my doubts.
So my teachers and friends tried to persuade me to just take the offer.
Damn, this is a loud video.
Don't miss out on this golden opportunity.
Well, you should. Emma, if you're in... What's the Englishman counterpart for an English lady? An English ladyman. I don't know. But I think you should. I think that's your, like, God-given right as a Brit to say things like, governor and figgy pudding.
After we returned home from preaching or from meetings, women from our neighborhood used to come to our home and say things like, "Why are you doing this to your child? She is
Golden
such a good
opportunity.
girl and she studies so well. So why can't you send her to a good college?"
And the mom's just like, you don't get it. Idiots. You fucking idiots who think that my kid would be better off if she went to school instead of volunteering, placing magazines with strangers for free. How dare you?
So I asked myself, what would I like to do with my life?
He was showered with golden
When I
opportunities.
saw brothers and sisters moving into my congregation to assist in the field ministry, this helped me to set and pursue spiritual goals so that I could eventually pioneer in my congregation.
Uh-huh.
In all things, my father always helped us to view Jehovah as a real person.
Helped me to view Jehovah as a real person. You know who you don't have to do that with? Real people who are your actual friends in real life. You don't have to convince yourself that other people are real unless you've got brain problems. But that's not a normal way to live your life. It's not normal to have to keep convincing yourself that the most important figure that you worship constantly, day in and day out, in an undertone, day and night, you have to keep convincing yourself they're real. They're a real person. I can see it. The paradise is real. I'm envisioning it. Absurd.
Also, as for my mother,
Right.
she
Anything but
serves
college.
as a regular pioneer. She shares the experiences she has had and the joy she has felt in the ministry. So soon after completing high school, I started pioneering.
To live a simple life,
Tragedy.
I work on a vegetable farm. And this work provides me with income that is just sufficient.
This is really depressing, but okay. So their music department is actually really good. I think I've thought about making a video about kind of like the tragic creatives of the Watchtower. I found a really kind of beautiful and heartbreaking interview that they released with one of the old school artists that is still around at Bethel, or at least he was when they made this video. And he had done like a lot of pictures that you would recognize from Watchtower art. I always felt like if you are a creative person, that's probably the best gig you could possibly get in a cult, because at least you love, I mean, if you love painting, you've got free room and board and you get to paint for a living and it's chill. You know, that's not so bad. And their music department is very talented. So like it played a little phrase from Courage, their song Courage, when it transitions, and that's pretty clever. Like they used it as a leitmotif, but it's also, you know, it's what they do in Star Wars, where like Yoda comes on screen and it's suddenly no 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 no, like they play Yoda's theme, and they do that in JW videos, but it's like he's showing courage by not going to school, so we'll play a little bit of
vegetable farm. And this work provides me with income that is just sufficient. Even though
I didn't go back far enough.
I started pioneering.
To live a simple life, I work on a vegetable farm.
Like that's pretty good. Like they're doing good work. I think this is a point that Yana Lalick makes in her work. She's a cult expert, and she points out something that I think is really important to remember, especially because it's easy to be like, how could anybody fall for this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, cults don't want dumb people. They don't want people who aren't intelligent. In fact, they want creative and driven people to put everything into the group. Like, they want hard workers, and little stuff like this, like people just putting their heart and soul into making this video because they're told that they're making it for God. You can see how like they're able to weaponize genuine talent and creativity to make something really evil and manipulative. Like, I went on a random tangent about leitmotifs, but there's actually an important thing that's happening here. The most important thing is from TRT, who says, what's the name of this video and where can I find it? Okay, so this is wait, what is the name of this video? I'm going to post a link in the description after the fact. I can tell you the file name on jw.org, but that's not super helpful. We'll find it after. But if you...
And this work provides me with income that is...
So this kid, he avoids going to college, dodges that bullet. He had a golden opportunity. And so now what he does instead is hard manual labor where he makes just barely enough to survive. He does backbreaking work for a pittance.
To live a simple life, I work on a vegetable farm. And this work provides me with income that is just sufficient. Even though this work is difficult and tiring, when I go out to preach, and when I meet with the Bible students, as well as the young ones, who love and appreciate the Bible truth, it refreshes my heart to see them.
Refreshes my heart. Yeah. Yeah. JW phrase I didn't realize I was living without. Suddenly I was reminded. So it's just, I mean, this is tragic. These stories are just absolute tragedies. The fact that they convince talented young people to avoid pursuing an education and instead do free manual labor for the church. That's not how they view it, but that's what it is. We got a couple banger comments here. One from Quinn. Think about it. Imagine being one of the animators or something. They're really good, but like if you want to move on, it's not like you can feel okay showing the work you've done. Yeah, I think that's got to be tough. I guess the way you would spin it is like, I worked in commercial arts. This was the gig I was hired to do. I think there'd be some leniency there, but it would still be pretty embarrassing. Like that's more embarrassing than doing like a butt cream commercial. Like this person has two mommies and I animated a homophobic cartoon to teach kids not to have friends with gay parents. Yep, that's the flip side of that. I'll log that away for my tragic Artists of Bethel project. Really great comment from Doc or Doke. Hit me up if on the pronunciation there. Imagine Dr. Doke from the GoldenEye video game. Cults that have dumb people just turning to Westboro Church and are obvious. They don't last very long. They need people that are good at hiding what they really believe. That's so bangers. You guys are
their desire
spitting
and their
facts.
eagerness to learn about the Bible.
Jeremiah 29:11 helped me to overcome pressures from others with the firm belief that Jehovah is thinking of giving me a nice future and a beautiful hope.
Yeah, fuck the narrative about immigrants stealing people's jobs. Jehovah's Witnesses steal immigrants' jobs. They just like, then they're bragging. Doke said, I hate when they brag about having these jobs. There's people that have no choice to take that kind of work to try and feed their families. And then you have JWs doing them for fun. Yeah. It's so this kind of like, look how amazing and humble I am. Look, everybody, I'm being humble.
Now I have 4 Bible studies, and my father,
would a narcissist
who's
have a
not
job
a witness,
like this?
also regularly attends meetings and studies the Bible.
Oh, how encouraging.
All these.
Look how depressing this is. Like, this is why the music is really important, because without this, I could drop under it the like Twin Peaks like ambient whooshing noises and it would be a horror story. This like gray, like built in the 70s psych ward curtains, like his shirt that matches the sad curtains, just everything is sad and everybody is lit to look like puke because the fluorescent lights just make everybody look sick. That's what he chose instead of a golden opportunity. It seems to me that a person who had invested that much and given up so much for their investment in the group would probably have no choice but to see themselves as happy. The alternative would to have immense regrets about your life decisions, and that's a lot harder.
Blessings have helped me to see that this life provides true satisfaction
Is
and
that
true
still
happiness.
Okay, so fuck this video. This video is gross. We get it. Bruce Leon has an important statement. Hey, you can't handle the mics without a suit jacket. Now you say that, and I was like, yeah, good point. But then I was like, wait, is that how it is now with the new jacket and tie rules? I think it is still that you're supposed to have one when you're doing an assignment, right? It's only on stage, Christina says. Well, that's what I thought too. But now I'm like, wait, I didn't even think about the microphone people. All right. Sound off in chat if you know the answer to these things. Shout out to the suit vest in the back. Oh my God. You're right. That was astounding. Okay. Let's see what Madame Ruby sees. What are we doing here, folks? Looking at looking for I forgot to save it. I had found a JW stage drama, like a recording of a stage drama that I thought would be funny to watch, but I can't actually. I can't find it. By the way, if anybody ever finds, I've found a couple really good channels that seemingly are actually run by Jehovah's Witnesses that have so much footage of like hall builds and Kingdom Hall stuff, old like recordings of a stage drama and convention part. Like if you ever find something like that, please email it to me because that stuff really comes in handy. Actually, I'm like in the theocratic ministry school thing I'm doing, I just realized that they just didn't have a sample of a sister talk on the website anywhere. So I was like going through Google or going through YouTube, just trying to find like some weird Jehovah's Witness who just uploaded their talk to YouTube. And I did find one because I just needed an example of what it looks like, the sisters' fake presentations, but they just didn't have it on the website. So that stuff's always useful. All right. I think we need to do one more thing before we go. I just don't know what that is. Oh, screw it. Let's look at this video. This is a very different. Let's close it out how we started it with My Teen Life. God, it starts so loud.
I went to a vocational school where I was able to fast-track learning a trade. Unexpectedly, I finished at the top of my class. After that, my teachers and my classmates started to expect a lot more from me. They were...
Doesn't that just show how completely arbitrary it is that there was ever a rule about suit jackets and stuff? Sad Monkey said hotter countries are more lenient on the jacket rules, and yeah, I've heard that and seen pictures. I know my uncle, when he was in like Cameroon, he had like a short sleeve suit. Like they had people make them, like tailor them specifically for witnesses for that purpose. It's just so silly. Like if jackets are holy and godly, then why do you not need them in hotter parts of the world? It's arbitrary.
saying, "You're doing so well. You represent the school. You will have to work hard. You'll do great things." You'll go far. They were constantly putting pressure on me to go for higher education and to go to university.
So when the school sees talent in a young student, the thing that the school is doing is teaching people and giving opportunities to the students who are good. And so them encouraging her to pursue her obvious talents was so much pressure from Satan's world. And the fact that the organization makes videos like this, constantly telling you, no, don't pursue what you think your dreams are, because they aren't actually even. They may be in paradise, but not now. Now your dream is to go to one of our fake schools or build our weird little buildings that we later sell and turn into Burger Kings for money. That's not pressure. Just the whole, this is why I don't think it's that JW stories are made up so much as they are so based on the witnesses' internal perception that they're being persecuted and that Satan's world is out to get them. And you don't really have any perspective on real life because by your own admission, you don't live in Satan's world. You live in the real life of, you live in a different world. You have a different personality. You live a separate existence. Your temporary residence in Satan's world.
There was this girl in high school who was my age. She was very friendly. She always paid attention to me. She was a nice person. I also
They're
thought she
even
was
worse.
cute.
The dubbed thing, so much of them are dubbed, and they're way worse. I find them very annoying as an editor because it makes it look in my videos like I'm making a mistake or bullshitting, like I'm making just a terrible sync of a different audio from a different thing. Like I try and not use clips like this in videos unless I can show the first part where they establish, like you hear the little bit of them speaking in their native language, and then you hear the voiceover come in. Just as somebody who likes to make edits, I find these really annoying. And I think that the voiceovers are terrible. They always go extra Robotronic on it. It was like, I love Jehovah so very much. It's like really over the top.
My classmates were like, go, talk to her. Or
Oh, okay, hang on. We got to get into my favorite topic, which is boys thinking that a girl maybe having a crush on them is a divine you are now a chess piece in the divine game of good and evil, God versus Satan, and all eyes are on you. This girl has a crush on you. All the angels are watching to see what you will do, to see if you will choose Jehovah.
friendly. She always paid attention to me.
Let's hear to how he talks about this girl that he is clearly still in love with.
There was this girl in high school who was my age. She was very friendly. She always paid attention to me. She was a nice person. I also thought she was cute.
Yeah, you've mentioned that now a couple times.
Mates were like, go, talk to her. Or, hey, Isaac, do you know that she likes you?
And so I wasn't sure what to do.
Pressure. Oh, this horrible pressure to say that you like someone who also likes you.
Of course, when I chose to go
What's
to
even
that
happening
school,
with this?
higher education
That was so clearly not the same person. Was that just supposed to be a shot of a random, sad, unrelated
wasn't
person?
the reason. I wanted to fast track getting a trade and then starting a job so that I could earn my income. That's what I thought. It was a really difficult time for me. I remember praying to Jehovah in tears for hours.
I didn't ask for advice, didn't talk to friends or people I trusted about it,
See, I'm in
not
ministry
even
school.
my parents. And little by little, I started to give in to that pressure that I got because of this girl.
You
In the
gave
end,
into the
we started
pressure.
to flirt with each other.
No.
We chatted and sent each other messages.
Okay. See, here's the other thing. Was this girl flirting with him, or was he just receiving messages from a girl? Like, you don't have any perception on what flirting even is as a witness, because you're told by the Young People Ask book that if you text somebody every day or multiple times a week, that's the same as dating, as going on dates and holding hands and kissing. It's the same thing, sending nice texts every day.
When I prayed to Jehovah, I didn't feel completely comfortable. I thought, If I'm not doing what Jehovah is asking of me, if I'm not behaving how Jehovah expects me to behave, then how can I expect him to listen to my prayers or even...
He was seeing all those hidden penises in the watchtower. No, I don't know.
My family never told me to go or not to go to university, but they reminded me of Jehovah's thinking.
My dad read...
Okay. So they didn't tell you. They just reminded you of Jehovah's way of thinking. And Jehovah's way of thinking happens to involve that the world is run by Satan and you shouldn't go to college because the world's going to be destroyed. So it probably wasn't just a gentle reminder, now was it?
Proverbs 27 verse 11 to me. What I was doing was a barrier between me and Jehovah. He helped me see that the decisions I make as a...
Flirting with a girl at school was a barrier between this kid and God. What does that say about God and how petty and withholding he is? Look at him getting off on being withholding.
The teenager affect Jehovah.
At that time, there were many videos,
Yes.
articles, and publications about this topic. Reading...
Damn, I never even thought about this, but like, by their definition, you're kind of dating Jehovah because you're talking to him like multiple times all day, every day. He's all you ever think about and talk about. And if you start thinking about other people, you're supposed to like make those thoughts go away. Oh, Christina asks, is it bad if you masturbate to Jehovah? Yeah, that's the kind of 4D cosmic chess workaround that you learn to justify sinning as a Jehovah's Witness. That's just anybody can effortlessly justify jerking off.
Experiences of those who
if
went
you've ever
through
been a
similar
witness.
things, doing personal study on the subject, and talking with spiritually mature brothers while in the ministry.
How do I even know that this is what she's saying? She could be saying like, help, I'm trapped. They have a gun pointing to my head off camera. Somebody let me out of this room.
Was very helpful for me.
Something that my parents did that helped me a lot.
Oh no, he does! What's going on? Sir. Who is the next victim in this plan that he's working out? He's got like almost a pentagram of murder victim pictures on the wall. Thank you, Elliot Larson, for pointing this out. This is so weird. I'm sure it is some trendy thing, some trendy picture holder that you can get from IKEA, but it just looks like a conspiracy board. That's amazing. If I used this as the thumbnail for my conspiracy video, nobody would have even noticed the entire time that it wasn't me. They just saw like white guy glasses, kind of brownish hair, and a conspiracy board. That's probably him.
Use the book Young People Ask in our
Tying
family
it all
study.
together.
And there's a chapter that talks about peer pressure.
Here's all the women who were trying to flirt with me at school.
Afterward, I was able to cope.
What helped me the most was something I heard at
No.
a Secret Assembly. The speaker said in his talk, yes, our young people have a lot of challenges right now. And when it comes to higher education, maybe their classmates and teachers are pressuring them. But you young people, it felt like he spoke to me personally. Your teacher or classmate might not even be part of your life in the future. But if you want Jehovah always to be in your life, then you need to make your decisions accordingly.
If you want Jehovah always to be in your life, and you know what happens to people who don't have Jehovah in their lives, don't you? When you put it like that, it's pretty simple. Ugh.
It was like a light went on in my head.
Yeah, how many dudes are like standing off screen?
Now
Because you
I'm
know the
sure
ladies
about
aren't
what I
allowed to
need.
operate the boom mic. Yeah, good. Okay, so here's a question. Is this a set? Is this just one of their little bedrooms that they use for the set of My Teen Life? It probably is. It's probably a set.
I had to speak to her. One day I prayed to Jehovah and got up the courage.
By the way, this makes me sad. Like, your teacher might not be in your life in the future, no shit. And, you know, like, once I left Jehovah's Witnesses, like, I wanted to reach out to those old teachers who always encouraged me to, you know, pursue my creative passions, even though I was a Jehovah's Witness. And, you know, one of them for sure has passed away and, like, can't tell him anymore. It's much more important to value the real human beings in your life than the fake, invisible people that you just really hope are there.
I told her that it couldn't continue with us.
Of course,
It can't
explaining
continue
that
with
to my
us this way.
classmates and to my teachers was a
We
little
mustn't
hard.
text.
I mean, it was difficult for them to understand. Sure, I explained it, but they said, "Why would you do that?"
For whoever is in the same...
I think we're maxing out on tolerance for these videos. I know I am, but the runner-up to this was one that literally involved these like two teenage boys not going to college and instead starting a window washing business so they could pioneer. It's very homoerotic and weird. I'm almost not watching it because I don't want to make jokes about the like actual kids in these videos. And
same situation that I was in.
If we watched it.
The best thing to do is to talk to someone you trust. Tell them how you feel.
What happened?
And ask for help.
Why did he look like that? Oh.
Our Creator,
It's in the Bible, so you know it's
Jehovah,
true.
is the one who thinks about me and loves me most. He hasn't deprived me of...
Imagine, that's so depressing to think that the person who loves you most in the world is not visible and doesn't live on planet Earth like all the real people who you just really want to love you. Your parents don't love you most in the world, not your friends. Jehovah. What a sad existence. It's really tragic. I just feel for these kids so much. I hope that if any of them ever leave and their videos get deleted from jw.org as punishment. No, that's not the worst part of the punishment for sure. Open invitation. We'll do a My Adult Life interview.
anything good. He always helps us and never leaves us. I'm so grateful to Jehovah.
Great advice. Okay, I think that's it. Well, we did it, guys. We did it. That was really painful. All right. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. We had a lot of fun. We didn't get to any of our segments. I made these little bumpers, but we didn't get to really play any of our games. Like, that's not what's happening.
That is not what is happening. That is not what is happening.
So we didn't get to do that, and so that wasn't happening, actually. In a way, we played it just by virtue of it not happening. I didn't really get into any conspiracies, so we didn't get to go into the conspiracy corner.
Welcome, Internet. I'm so happy to share with you this conspiracy theory.
And I guess I always nitpick, but I think we took a pretty broad macro view of just the issue of how they emotionally abuse children and young adults in the group. So we didn't even really get to go to Jake's nitpick.
Why is it necessary to be so picky, to be so fussy?
So that's a shame. Hopefully next week we'll get to do that. Please do like and subscribe, especially subscribe to the Sunday Service feed. I will be posting a new video tomorrow to the main channel. I think it's really good. I think it's funny and good and nostalgic and makes you think. It's galaxy brain stuff. So thank you for joining me. Goodbye.